Kanpai! Words.
Was that just a yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
Anyway, welcome, weebs, to this week's episode of Kanpai Cast. Today we are joined by Lou and Yi. We are here to talk about the gender perspective on anime. And one of the big things you'll notice is I sound like an echoey mess because I've moved. And apparently Windows are really good at reverbing audio and... oops. Anyway, so yeah, we're here to talk about anime. But there's a bit of housekeeping to discuss. First, as usual. So, good piece of news. We've had a tech update in terms of Deckboard, which allows us to do a lot of cool stuff. Nothing particularly amazing. It was a complaint that we raised, I can't remember how many months ago, but I just want to give some hurrah because we finally got that damn thing working.
Yeah, the maker of Deckboard really on it. He seems to be doing a lot of work in the background, but yeah. So yeah, not going to affect people, but for people on the other end, but for the back end for us, it's really handy.
Yeah. Right, so also just to remind everyone, we have timestamps and chapters allowing people to navigate to the sections of the show that they're particularly interested in. And what the hell's this, Naz? Take a trip to Liketopia by clicking the thumbs up button on the video. Also feel free to like and subscribe. I mean, why the heck not? But, yeah. And as always, now the news is done as a separate video, which...
hopefully you've seen.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully you will have seen. As in, that's not an option.
I mean, yeah, they have to have seen it. They better not skip the news. The news is important.
Cool. So, before we get into the main topic itself, let's talk to Lou and Yi, and how did you guys get into anime? So we'll start with Lou.
I mean, I was probably about 12. The first anime I ever watched was Sailor Moon. So I would race home after school and religiously, watch I guess it was the 4Kids dub or whatever dub it was, where it was catered towards an American audience, so a lot of the details about Sailor Uranus and Neptune being
and Zoisite
lovers, being lovers was oh no, they're cousins.
Which makes it so much better. Yeah.
So that was my first one.
Weren't some of the lackeys in the first series, Queen Barrel's lackeys, weren't they also gay for each other or something?
Zoisite and
so
Malachite?
they made one of them a girl.
Yeah. Yep.
And,
good times.
On that, what about you, Yi?
I mean, actually kind of similar. I was thinking of the timeline of it earlier. I mean, unless you count the stuff that, Saban would hoik over from Japan and dub, for the Saturday morning, the 80s, 90s Saturday morning cartoons, things like Pinocchio and stuff like that, and Moomin and
things like that. I forgot about those.
Speaking of Moomin.
Yeah. So apart from this, because I just remember having a conversation with my granddad, because I was watching Moomin when I was staying over at theirs down in lovely South Wales. No, it's a nice place, but it's not a lot to do in Pembroke Dock, even at that age. And I just remember my granddad saying to me, "Oh, they're Japanese cartoons. How do you know if the mouths keep on getting bigger?"
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, actually, I was thinking, it's probably Pokemon. Then I was thinking about it this afternoon and thinking, actually, no, it was Sailor Moon. It was going to Canada, and we did a holiday where we toured across Canada on whatever their equivalent of Greyhound buses are. And we stayed in the same chain of hotels each time. And of course, they had YTV, and on that was Sailor Moon. And I'm like, what is this thing? This is amazing.
Quality content. That's what it is. Quality content.
My parents hated it. They thought, what is this shit? I'm going, I like it. No, I don't. I'm cool.
Yeah, I think after that, Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z were pretty much the staples other than Sailor Moon. as well. So come to think of it, like, this is kind of like the trio of like American anime watching experience.
Yeah, again, similar. It was Pokemon because it was, that's this, again, a different trip to Canada. I'd been told about this thing called Pokemon, and then the cartoon started, or the anime started over here, and I'm like, oh, that's what these kids were talking about. I understand now. But yeah, Pokemon, Digimon, anything. Dragon Ball Z came a little bit later because we got it later. But at the same time, you got sort of Transformers Armada and Zoids as well on Sky One or something like that. You know, as soon as Pokemon and Digimon blew up, it was, let's get anything that's anime and throw it at children.
And off the back of the comment about Moomin, the relevance to that is that's what Lou's avatar is. It's I honestly, I know of the show. I watched maybe 2 seconds of it. I have no idea what any of the characters' names are, or even what they are. They look like hippos. I mean,
they are trolls, actually. Moomins are a type of troll.
Moomin trolls.
Two floating clouds.
Isn't the main character actually just called Moomin Troll?
Yeah, no, he's just Moomin, and then there's Moomin Mama and Moomin Papa, which is, super inventive.
Yeah.
What was there's the female Moomin as well.
A Snork Maiden.
That was it. Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. So I actually
what?
Snork Maiden.
Okay, so I apparently did hear that. Okay.
These cartoons always have to have at least one, or only one girl, just like Smurfs.
Oh no, there were multiple girls. There's Little Mai. Little Mai was the other girl. Other than Moomin Mama and Snork Maiden.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Moomin Mama already. Haha.
Yeah, can't forget about the mother. Yeah, and then there's Snufkin, and who I think is an adult, but hung out with the children. I don't know. Anyway.
Teenager. Let's go with teenager.
Yeah, teenager.
I mean, I've read some of the books when I was a kid because they had to at the school I had there was a sixth formers library on one of the staircases, and that was quite cool, and it had 2 of the books in, so I read those, but I've never read any of the graphics or anything. But most of Europe knows what they are because blep.
Fair enough. Right, I think it's time to move on to the main topic itself. So yeah, let's.
Oh no, it's not messed up. For once, it's not messed up.
I will throw in as well the other introduction to anime was Sci-Fi Channel's Midnight Manga Entertainment, violence, sex.
Oh yeah.
yeah. I guess like the adult stuff would have been in high school when I would stay up late and I would record Toonami and for Inuyasha and Cowboy Bebop and that kind of stuff. But that was like me being in high school.
Yeah, I'm still kind of annoyed that we didn't. I don't think we ever got Inuyasha over here properly until recently on Netflix. But yeah, the Saturday nights at midnight was when Sci-Fi just threw up all of Manga Ent's catalogue, and it was like, so how have I seen Erotsukidoji 1, 2, and 3? That is how.
I'm pretty sure late night Sci-Fi Channel was where I caught Eyes of Mars, which is just the craziest movie in the world.
Anywho, let's get to the topic.
Yes, it safely took us away from Urotsukidoji. Waha.
Right, okay. So the main concept for this episode was very much the how I suppose men and women can perceive anime. How do they feel about different shows, different things? And I know I'm more than happy to start this ball rolling. I know some of you have watched High School Double D. And High School Double D has a metric F-ton of fan service.
Boy, does it.
Jiggle, jiggle. But to me, personally, it doesn't really faze me. Like, yes, it's there. I like the interaction between the characters. I don't like it when they censor it, because when they censor it, they typically spoil the shot, so to speak. They go overboard, right? They just like, oh, look, 2/3 of the screen has been saturated in steam. And there's a weird line across the screen that, you know, they were lazy about. So, I think my starting question, for whoever wants to take it first, is how do any of you three feel about the level of nudity in a show like, or in the show High School Double D specifically?
Well, I haven't actually watched it. I've only seen bits and pieces from getting, you know, assets for like Notice Me Senpai and stuff. But I feel like it's mostly used for comedic effect, and I'm kind of okay with that. I think a lot of people are, especially in the West, are too prudish about their own bodies and how funny it can be sometimes. I mean, let's face it. If you really look at sex from an outside perspective, it's hilarious. It is. I mean, these people are making faces. They're moving weird. There's all kinds of sounds. It's just, you know, it's hilarious.
It's even more hilarious when the sex scene is done badly.
Yes, yeah. Oh, I just meant in real life, but yeah.
Whatever the second Underworld film is it Evolution?
So yeah, I think as long as it's not just there to titillate, you know, I mean that can be okay sometimes, but I prefer when it's used for some kind of either comedic effect or, you know, somehow pushes the story along or something like that. Like it has an impact. It's not just there for the sake of it.
I agree with you, Nasuth. I'm of a similar feeling. It's like it's played for comedic effect. You know, it's okay that stuff is, you know, can be sexy. You know, but if it's, I don't like it when it's sort of like serious show panty shot.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
Why?
I think I like, there are like kind of two questions that I ask when I see these kind of scenes, or like when I know that it's basically like this, almost this trope across like animes, right? You've got the bathhouse scene, right, where all the girls, like, they're chilling out, you know, and they're in the bath, and then there's
the boys are always trying to peek.
And the boys are always trying to peek, and you're just like, oh, look at the perverts, right? The question is it sexualized nudity? Is one question. And, you know, is it just for the sake of like a joke, or is it, you know, those are sort of like the two questions that I kind of like I'm asking as I'm watching the scene unfold, right? You know, and I think it all depends, like, in the world building, right? Like, is being naked a big deal in this world? Yes or no? You know, and oftentimes you'll just have like the protagonist sometimes get super blushy. You'll either have the pervert protagonist who's like, oh, I'm gonna peek, or you'll have the one that's like super blushing. Is like, I don't want to be naked around all these girls. You know.
So, it's interesting you say this, because I do feel that in the construction of the show, like I suppose the sexiness or the nudity or what have you is quite heavily used in the setting. It's not just like, oh, this is a serious high school show or what have you, and then for some strange reason, whenever we have an over-the-shoulder shot for, you know, over the shoulder of the guy, yeah, but when it comes to the girl, it's, oh, we've got a shot of her ass for some reason.
Yeah, that happens so much in so many shows.
It's totally about framing, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, we're not going to get through this episode without bringing up the feminism word, right? So it's basically like, what lens do you like look through these things through? And if it's this constant thing where like you're seeing only women framed in a certain way, that's where it starts to become problematic and where you have to kind of like question it, I think, because, you know, if you only see women framed in this like hypersexualized way and the way that like the women's bodies are framed, I mean, especially like it kind of goes across all media, like visual media, but especially for animation, because animation is so expensive. Like, why did they choose that thing to animate? And that's like a question. It's not a question of whether or not it's good or bad. It's just like, as a viewer, these are the kind of things that you should be thinking about when you're, I mean, I think that people should be thinking about when they're viewing a piece of media to make that decision for themselves. Do I like this? Do I not?
So I want to take this into a direction, you know, the other side of the door, or, you know, looking back in the mirror, the whole body proportions and things like that. Unless anyone has anything else they want to specifically talk about with regards to the, you know, high school double D. No?
No,
the thing is, it didn't stick with me. I'll have to be honest. I watched it probably in all one sitting, and the only thing that stuck with me was the sexy content.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
I think you also brought up a good point where you said it's up to the individual how they view it. So, you know, for some people the tolerance is going to be really low, and they're going to be like, I can't take it, I'm out. And for other people the tolerance is going to be higher, and they're like, well, I see it, but I'm enjoying the rest of the show as a whole, and that fits into it, you know, in some way, you know. So it's going to be different for different people.
But again, it's also very important to talk about things like, you know, tolerances and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Because if someone, again, now I want to talk about another show entirely, which I'll get back to. There's a show that Lou has just watched 2 whole seasons of, and I've watched half of a season, and I just want to turn it off, right? But if there's no objections, I'll take it back to where I wanted to take it.
Go for it.
Cool. And that is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Ooh.
Where it's effectively I feel personally with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, it's the complete opposite, where the male protagonists are like, no man has this body proportion, right? How is this 16-year-old Japanese schoolboy 6'7" with
built like a
muscles
brick shit
on
house?
I think that's the joke, right? Like, that's the underlying joke, is that it's this hyper masculine, like, power fantasy, and
but
that's
it's
why they
also
do
really
it, right?
super goofy with the poses
But it's also,
and everything.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, it's super goofy, and I haven't watched all of like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure because it is like, I started watching it. It's at an 11 like all the time. Like, it is such an intense show. You cannot binge watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Like, your brain will melt because
you might not be able to.
Well, okay, my brain would melt. Anyway, it's just like, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in all at once.
I think it also does. I mean, I think it sexualizes everyone. I think even the men and the women, even you know, the women that are on the show. Think of Polnareff when he got turned into, when he got de-aged and was spending time with that woman. You know, that was super sexualized, but it was funny, and it fit in with everyone else being sexualized in their own way. You know.
I mean, it's kind of in the title, right? Bizarre Adventure. It's like, it's this, like, over the top. I would even classify it as camp, right? Like, I think it actually fits into the camp category of media. You know, you have really exaggerated facial features, like super buff, like defined hard lines as well. Like the way that the image is, you know,
Very
the way that the
bold.
animation is, yeah, very bold lines, very bright colors. You know, you compare that to like some other animes that maybe are more like in the pastel, or they're like a little bit washed out because they want to go with moody, but you know, it's a visually striking choice.
It's very, as you say, it's very in your face. I was just, as you were sitting there thinking, it's almost like you can imagine them being drag queens, but in drag to men. It's like drag queens
God, I never saw
dress
that.
themselves up and then just come back to doing, then being drag kings, and it's just like, what? It's
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is the sort of shit it would pull.
You know, I honestly would love to, and I bet it's been done. You could probably Google this. I would love to see a drag representation of like a JoJo character, because I think it would be phenomenal. Like, it's just
I'm
like
never gonna get that out of my head now.
it's so extra. But that's why I bring up camp, like the whole camp thing, and what Yi said is just like it's very much like at an 11. You look at like drag makeup and it's at an 11, and it's got this own like very distinct aesthetic to it, right? Like it's in your face, it's unapologetic, it's just like, you know, bam, there it is, right? It's intense.
It is one of those shows that almost, even if you've never seen it, you will see a screenshot of it and will be like, that's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, or I guess the other way, the sort of on the thumb version would be, that's a JoJo reference. Or but yeah, I completely agree. It is that hyper masculine and sexualized. Like you say, it is the TLDR. I agree. I'm falling over words. Sorry.
But I would say it's not even like it's hyper masculinity, but not necessarily to be quote unquote like attractive to, obviously not to everybody, but it is like cartoonish, you know, like it. I mean, yes, it's anime, of course it's cartoons, but like it, in terms of the stylization, it's very much more.
It's hyper masculine, but it's not trying to be like, it's not. It's almost making fun of it. It's almost a caricature.
Yeah. Yeah,
sort of like
that's exactly. Yeah.
It's sort of like the author's gone, this is what shonen shows are like, let's parody it and just ramp it up.
Yeah.
Completely.
So in that regard, and please, like, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, you're fine with the hypermasculinity, the overt,
the bulging muscles, and yeah,
you know, the
swagger,
the poses, right? Like, frick, this image coming on like now is perfect timing. So you are fine with this, right? Because it's you know, the guy isn't doing anything overtly erotic, right?
No, they're just posing and they're like showboating, and they're
Right.
like, "Oh, look, I'm so strong."
It's like, oh, okay, there's a common trope about 80s movies where like guys would do what we look at now as incredibly homoerotic stuff, but to them, you know, back in the day, it was just guys doing like, "Oh, big men, we're doing big men things," you know. It's kind of like that.
It's like the Jean-Claude Van Damme movies where it's just like, look at my muscles, I have oiled up.
Yeah. I mean,
actually.
I mean, it's funny you say 80s movies because like JoJo, obviously it's a more recent anime, but it just definitely like harkens back to that whole, like, if you think of like G.I. Joe with like the super buff, like, and He-Man, and you know, like those kinds of cartoons with the hypermasculinity, that's what, like, that I feel like those are kind of in the same ballpark.
Or sort of 90s comics, like early 90s comics from like Image, particularly Image, where it's like, is it Rob Liefeld or whatever his name is, the guy who
Oh
just
god, yeah.
muscles.
Yeah, and his women always have like broken backs and stuff. Yeah, he's weird.
Oh wait, wasn't he the one that did the Captain America that looked like he must have a tumor on his torso or something?
Probably. All his characters look like they have tumors.
Yeah, and not to pockets, pouches even. But didn't, thinking of what Lou was just saying about JoJo and it harking back to 80s movie, didn't it start in the 80s? It's an anime more recently, so it's probably pulling on that sort of era of movie making as well.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting how the different shows go on and the transition between hugely overt muscly men transitions to, I mean, Jotaro
Stone Ocean is like, it's almost completely different from Stardust Crusaders at this point.
Yeah, so like Jotaro looks like nothing alike, and he's supposed to be like in his 30s in Stardust Crusaders, but he's like 17 in...
Other way around.
Yeah. Stone Ocean, he's like in his 30s. So...
Well, and the first one with Jonathan and Dio didn't really... I mean, it was a little on the hyper masculine side, but it wasn't like, I'd say Stone Ocean and the first season are closer together than any of the other ones.
I mean, their clothes are pretty damn tight, like in the first season.
Yeah.
I know it was supposed to be this like quasi weird, like almost Victorian England like type like setting, but their clothes were really freaking tight.
By the end, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. It's sort of like you sit there and think, you guys do remember that like they got offended by seeing people's ankles, right?
Yeah.
Rippling through their shirts is not gonna.
Let alone like the little, the bulging man muscle like definition through their jacket.
I think after Dio got transformed, it started going that way for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, what I can remember of Golden Wind is it just seemed to feel like it sort of started to move away from the bulgy muscles to
very pretty men, very pretty men,
very pretty, very camp. It's that they're very pretty boys, and it's BOI instead of BOY. But you get the point.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting how it has changed, and it's quite interesting to see how action movies and stuff changed over that sort of time.
Remember the 90s when it started to be like they started to try and get more women action stars like Cynthia Rothrock. Oh, that was a cool time. That was a very cool time.
I just remember like the Tomb Raider film coming out. And it being like, with Angelina Jolie, and just being like, yeah, girl power.
Yeah. Too bad the second movie sucked.
Yeah.
You didn't think the first one did?
It was mediocre, but it was all right.
It was fun in its own way.
Yeah, it's a good popcorn flick.
Okay. Okay. So, I'd like to quiz Lou for a moment, unless anyone. Well, actually, I've got several for you, Lou. But
oh boy.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna sit here and watch.
Okay, so I want to talk to you about Bastard.
Pulling images for this made me really want to watch it.
Okay.
Really?
Oh
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It looks
so. Shall I give like a quick rundown of what Bastard is?
I would like you to give like a brief synopsis, your take on it, and I'd like to give my own take on it.
Okay, so Bastard is, it's in the subtitle, a heavy metal dark fantasy that features around the main character, Dark Schneider, who has been trapped in the body of an adolescent boy and can only be released from this body prison by the kiss of a virgin. And he's basically the self-appointed handsome hero, and he basically goes around being OP and getting all the chicks all the time.
Why is this description making me think of Fist of the North Star?
I think it's hilarious. It is the most toxic masculine thing I have ever watched, but it's so self-aware, and they lean hard into it, like really hard. And it's so the most recent adaptation of it that's on Netflix at the moment is actually more sexualized than the original.
I think I heard that the original was more gory, and this is slightly less gory. But
so this is a little bit. I mean, there's still some gore. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of violence. Yeah. It is. Yeah. The protagonist or anti-hero is pretty much a toxic masculine archon, but he keeps winning, right? And there's a lot to unpack here with this, but I'm gonna let Xeno go first.
Okay.
And say his part.
So I've watched I had to watch this in bits and pieces, right? I watched the first 2 episodes and I was okay with it. I watched the 3rd episode, I was like, wait, is this it? Is this all the show is? And you know, I watched the 4th episode and I had to take a break, and I watched the 5th episode and I had to take a break. And then I watched the 6th episode and I was like, I can't, how has Lou managed to watch all of this, right? So Lou's hit the nail on the head, right? You know, she's described, but like the toxic masculinity is just a bit too much for me. Like, there is one scene, which I will describe, where, first off, Dark Schneider needs to go up a ladder, and there is a princess who he told to take off her armor, and so she's just basically in rags and a loincloth or what have you, and she needs to climb the ladder as well. So he says, you go up the ladder first, and if there's a problem, I will just jump down and I'll help the guards, right? That are fighting this Minotaur or something. I can't remember.
Dee and I are perfectly covering up the fact that this outfit leaves very little to the imagination.
Yes, right. So this character actually is the one that he's arguing with. She won't go up the ladder because she is afraid that he will see a little too much. Yeah, because, you know, there's more to see apparently. And she won't go up in first. She has to go up second. He has enough of it. He throws her over his shoulders, fireman style.
I think there's a picture of that in here somewhere.
To start climbing the ladder, and I kid you not, she is getting off on it. Right?
Yeah.
She is getting hot and bothered, right? He has no idea what's going on as he's climbing this ladder, and she's just like, you know, anyway, she's getting very aroused. And I can't think that would ever be comfortable for anyone. And this isn't the only time this happens. Like, a lot of this stuff happens throughout the 6 episodes I did watch. And I just I don't know, Lou, how on earth can you stomach this?
Because it's a farce to me. Like, 100% all the time, it's just a farce, right? Everything. So
it revels in its goofiness, or its disturbing. Yeah.
I am also a fan of metal music. So there are this anime is littered with references to metal artists and song lyrics and everything. There's even like there's a captain or commander, I forgot what his name is, Bon Jovina. So Bon Jovi, right? Like it's you know, Dark Schneider is, I believe, a reference to Dee Schneider from Twisted Sister. There's a villain that he goes up against called is it Baron Diamond or something? But anyway, that's a reference to King Diamond. Like, so it's just like it's metal nerdiness that that has drawn me in. I've stayed for that reason. And everything that I watched, I'm like, this is really fucking stupid. Like, and even like the dialogue, right, is so exposition heavy.
Yes.
They explain so much of like what's going on in this world, like through talking to each other, which is like a cardinal sin of like filmmaking, right? Is overdoing the exposition. But this is what makes me think that it is so self-aware about what it is. And it's just, I just laugh at it. I take it all like 100% as a joke, right? It's this whole, like, it's like, I keep going back to it saying that it's self-aware. He refers to himself as the handsome hero over and over and over again. And he's basically just like, well, I'll never die, I'll never lose because I'm the handsome hero. So I think it's taking the piss out of male power fantasy, like basically this genre, right? Of like male power fantasy anime where, you know, the main hero gets all the chicks. He's got like this harem of beautiful women who all want him, even though he's like a bastard, right? He sexually harasses women. He's like misogynistic. He's a pig. He believes he literally, a line is like, this world is mine to play with, and like all this stuff. Like he is not a hero, right? But because he's been cast in this role, we're following his story, like things don't get resolved, right? Like he never really gets his comeuppance, right? You would think in like some kind of story, a person like this would get some kind of divine retribution or something like that. Like they wouldn't get the girl, they don't. And I think this is kind of picking at other things where this similar kind of thing happens to a lesser degree, where the protagonist is really a sack of shit, right? But he's for some reason gets the girl in the end. So that's what I think is happening here. At least that's my read on it. Okay, and that's why I watch it.
That's fair. Obviously, everyone to their own. There's no judgment on.
Would you say it's a case of like it's so bad it's good?
For me, I would say, yeah, it's really bad. Like,
I'm with you. I love stuff like that. I want
like it ends on a to be continued, right? Like, so all 24 episodes are out. Like, I think they came out this week, like the last batch. And I'm like, yeah, actually, I want to see where this goes. Because there's still some, like, narrative threads that they've left over. But I don't have high hopes because the manga it's based off of went on hiatus in, like, 2010. And no more has been written.
Oh,
so...
Oops. Well, you know.
I don't know how much they're actually going to... How much more there actually is.
Who knows?
Because until that point, that really annoys me with stuff. It's like Drew and I have talked about it before, that there's like a version of Saint Seiya called Saint Seiya: The Lost Canvas, and it's a slightly different twist on the normal Saint Seiya story. To my understanding, I've not watched the original series, and I've tried watching Netflix CGI attempt of it, and I cannot. It's awful. But I was really enjoying it, and then it gets to like the end of the second season or whatever the last episode that is being released, and it's like to be continued effectively, and it's like, yeah, it's not being made. The rest of it's not being on. You're gonna have to hunt down the manga. It's like, really annoys me.
This is a common problem with when it comes to manga. Either it goes on indefinite hiatus. The Guyvers suffered that. Or it just gets flat out cancelled in the weakest possible way. Like, what was the name of the Parasite, Kurihime, Skullman? So many manga just go the end. Wait, that's not an ending. What do you mean the end? No, it's just no, the
Shaman
end.
King.
Shaman King.
Shaman King.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go have a nap. Effectively. Thankfully, he got the opportunity to finish it properly. But yeah.
Okay. So, for Lou's benefit, I really hope that they do actually,
do it. There we go. There we go. This is it. This is
I
it.
told you it was in there somewhere.
Yeah.
No, but this is like class, like in all the way, like the way women that are depicted in this is very much like male gazy type shit, right? Like looks at their tits and their body postures are all weird. And you're like, why would you be standing like that when you're about to fight? Why would you be dressed like that when you're about to fight? Like it ticks all the boxes of what the fuck? Like why are the women dressed like this when they're supposed to be fighting? Because there are women that fight. But
I can just imagine two university lecturers I had in my first attempt at university back in the early 2000s, right? For context, I went to one uni for a year. It didn't work out. I came out and then went back into the uni where I did my actual first degree. I have too many of these bloody things. And they were we were talking about things like the male gaze and this, that, and the other, and they would froth at the mouth. I could just imagine them.
You can have a field day with this one in particular. Like there's so much there just to unpack. But I want to be respectful of time. you can do like an entire episode on this.
You've sold it to me though. Even though I know it ends on a cliffhanger, I still want to go and at least have a go at it because it sounds like it's hilarious.
I laughed so fucking hard, like so many times, just because it's that bad. Like I was just like, oh god. And I mean, there was even like to emphasize, I was watching a few episodes, and my husband was playing games on the computer behind me, and he turns his head and he goes, "Are you watching hentai?" And I was
Close
like, enough. Well, yeah, close enough.
That was the wrong time to have a drink. Right. I'm gonna steer. We're gonna steer, and I'm gonna give Yi an opportunity to talk about.
Oh my god.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Fan service in Konosuba. Because we have spoken. Yi and I have spoken a lot about
frog slime.
Yeah,
that's all
so
you need to hear.
I'm just gonna hand over to Yi.
Oh great! I'm sitting there going, my brain has just gone. Konosuba, it exists. Well done.
Well, I mean, we got stuff like no one wears panties.
Stealing of panties. Accidental stealing of panties, but then used as an actual move.
Megaman's rival is like super sexualized, and
So is the receptionist at the Adventurers.
Yeah.
Darkness as well.
Darkness. Yep. Everything about her.
Okay. So all of that. Let's construct that into a synopsis and narrative of. You can skim through what Konosuba's about, but let's talk about. I
like how you've just gone. That was just incomprehensible drivel. Yee, let's make it make sense. Thanks.
Nasuth didn't help.
Nope, not at all. No, I'm supposed to help. That's not my job.
I'm dumbstruck at this point. Right. Okay. You good to go, Yi?
Yes, sure. What am I doing?
Talking about the fan service in Konosuba.
Oh, great.
Do we need...
Okay. It exists. Yeah, I'm doing well here. I mean, with Konosuba, it's sort of similar with High School Double D. It's played for laughs.
Mm-hmm.
You know that Kazuma is not. He's not a massive lech, but he goes with, I'm going to use my steal ability. Wait, I have panties. I'm going to roll with this. So it just becomes a running joke. And it's, again, the same with Darkness. It's her masochism is just like, is it masochism?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that the right one?
Yes.
Yeah. Masochism. It's all just played for jokes, and as a result, I don't particularly find an issue with it. It's funny. It's not quite as up to 11 as Bastard sounds like, but you can sort of see where they're going with it, and yeah, I can understand it possibly not being.
I think one of the things that softens it is that Kazuma gets shit on all the time. They give as good as they get, or even better in some cases.
I guess in some ways it's almost the reverse of Bastard, where he's the main character, but he's not seen as a hero, and he's not latched on by the girls. So
Yeah.
or if it happens, it's unintentional by him yelling at darkness and her going,
Oh no!
melting
It's
in
so he's
submission.
yelling at me. Oh. Yeah. There was I used a GIF in Notice Me Senpai where she was all like, I think they needed to pay rent for some reason. I can't remember why. And she was like, oh, what if he sends me out to use my body to get money? Oh. Yeah. It's that level of ridiculous.
Yeah.
So one thing I feel with Konosuba is it is heavily over-sexualized in places. Even if taking darkness out of the equation completely, right? It's still heavily sexualized. However, I feel it doesn't subtract from the content itself. It feels like this is fan service to get people to watch it, but they come for the fan service, they stay for the laughs.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I also think, I guess I kind of want to say that the girls seem to own it as well. It's like Aqua's always trying to be, look at me, at least I remember, unless I'm remembering wrong. She's getting pissed off that she's not seen as sexy or attractive or whatever, or powerful. She gets her little water spout ability, and it's like, yay! I'm this powerful, all-powerful goddess. Now I've actually got an ability that's slightly useful. Hopefully.
Everyone else seems to like her, but she gets angry that Kazuma just like not ghosts her, but you know what I mean. He has he's deadpan, more or less, when it comes to her. Because he thinks she's useless and hates her. What is his line about true equality too? There's something he said a couple of times.
So it's a joke for a start.
Oh yeah, of course.
Glad.
Yeah.
I am so glad that you're both where you are right now.
Yeah,
Very good at being very well placed.
Anywho. So basically the joke is that both Megumin and Kazuma are absolutely covered in slime from the giant toads, and they want to have they both want to have a bath to get clean and everything. But they only have one bath in the house. So Kazuma's line is, no, I believe in... So Megumin's like, ladies first or whatever. And Kazuma's, no, I believe in true equality. So, that doesn't fly with me. As if, no, he just wants to go in the bath first. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
And he's trying to appeal to higher moral standards or whatever. And it's just like, no, that's not... Just no.
He's just saying whatever he wants to. Yeah.
Yeah, just to look as the better person. But out of interest, Lou, you've been quite... Have you seen Konosuba?
No, I'm aware that they've turned it into the gacha game, but that's it. And it's been advertised to me, but I have not seen Konosuba.
Okay, so Yi and Nasuth, would you recommend Konosuba to Lou?
Well, see, this is my first reaction to I've not seen it. Is, we need to rectify this!
Yep.
I think yes.
It is so worth seeing. 100%.
I mean, call me a scrub, but I basically just what's on Netflix? And then I choose from there.
Well, the third season's coming 2023, I think.
It can't come soon enough.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So now's the time to catch up.
Ooh.
The way we ended up watching, or I ended up watching Konosuba, is basically being dragged kicking and screaming with the condition of we can watch the dub.
Yeah. The dub is actually pretty good, so
Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of, I guess, a tangent. Some people are very, quote unquote purists. No, you have to watch subtitles. I'm dyslexic. I can only watch I have to pace it. I can only watch so many episodes of an anime with subtitles in a row before my brain just gets tired.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't keep doing this. And there's so much content out there that if I let myself slow down, I wouldn't,
Absorb.
I wouldn't absorb. I mean, some of this stuff doesn't absorb anyway. Like, I can't remember a lot of things. Then I'll rewatch some and I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But is it, how would you compare it to something like the Seven Deadly Sins? Is it?
Oh, this is leagues better than the Seven Deadly Sins.
Okay.
Like,
because like that's one of the ones like that's on my list of like that has the fan servicey shit, right? Where the main guy is a bit of a dick and gets very handsy with like the female protagonist, but she's also just like a limp noodle. Like she's just
this is nothing like that.
Sue Meliodas. Oh.
Every time Kazuma even comes close to something like that, he usually gets like the universe comes in and slaps him down.
Yeah, and I'm just like, as long as there's like some retribution in there, like I feel like, or in the case of Bastard, it's played as a joke.
Yeah.
So it's 100% a joke, right? And the best thing is that I think the best way to describe it is darkness is probably the best way to sell the series. You have is she a paladin?
She's a paladin. Also a princess? Maybe?
No, she's a duchess.
Some kind of noble. Yeah, okay, yeah. Some kind of
duchess,
noble.
yeah. So La Latina for Dustins. Anyway, sorry. La Latina. Anyway. Darkness is a paladin who literally cannot hit anything. Even if she tries, she cannot hit anything.
But damn, is she an amazing tank?
She's a masochist, right?
Yeah.
So anytime she gets hit, she gets off on it, right? And she will do stuff like you've got a raid boss effectively charging her, and Kazuma has to basically, CC the raid boss just to make sure she doesn't die. Because she's decided to stand and take the full brunt of this thing, and it's just like, you're an idiot.
But I think that even if it hit her, she wouldn't die, because she's taken some massive hits in the series. And she's just like, kind of the enemy's like, but how are you surviving this? What is wrong? What are you?
The point is, right, in most of the
Wile E.
anime...
Coyote, clearly.
Yeah. The point is, in most other anime, the male protagonist would be 100% on board to watch what's going on, right?
Yeah. But Kazuma's freaked out by it. It's
well, it's so it's like no. We're trying to not die, right? So the sensibilities are quite logical, and the humor, I would say, is fairly subtle, right? It's not like Wile E. Coyote, it's not like in your face crayon drawn Shin-chan, or I'm trying to think of other comedy anime. I'm failing horrifically right now. It's actually quite discreet with how it does its deliveries, and the payoffs are just hilarious.
I think a good way of describing Konosuba is that it's effective. It feels like it's a D&D game that's just going a little bit off the rails. You've got one character who's trying to keep it together, but the rest of them are just running off and doing weird shit. Because you've got Kazuma, who's the thief, who's vaguely sensible. Aqua, who's the goddess, who's a depowered goddess who is just trying... Goddess?
She just wants to go home.
Who just wants to go home. Because Kazuma dragged her into this mess. You've got the wizard who knows one spell and one spell only, called Explosion. So guess what? It does exactly what it says on the tin, and then you've got
knocks
the
her out
paladin
every
who's a
time.
masochist.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like the sort of shit my D&D group would pull together.
Yeah.
Highly recommended.
Yes. I would agree.
Okay.
Frog slime.
I kind of...
I kind of want to take this into any other direction. I could easily find one. I'm looking at one right now.
I mean, I've got one.
What
that
do you want to bring up?
I would love to talk about. I would love to talk about Kakegururi.
That's the one I wanted to talk about.
I would love to talk about this one. So
I
dear
have tried
fucking
this show
God.
so many times.
So how's about Lou gives a synopsis and Yi gives her take on it?
right, so Kakegururi is a show about a school where the class system is based on how good a gambler you are, and it, at least in the first, there's Kakegururi, and then the second season, but then there's also Twin. Neither of them are finished because, you know, pandemic, production went on hiatus. I hope they come back to it. I really, really do. But
Isn't there a live action version as well?
Yep.
there is a live
yeah.
action version. I haven't seen the live action version, but it is about it is ape shit crazy in terms of how these different characters behave when it comes to gambling. And I have a take on it, but I'm going to hold it for you to go first.
Well, I think I've managed to watch, max the first 3 episodes. I don't like it. I hate it. I'm just... Stop getting off on gambling! I'm not interested, just in the exposition and just make it go away. I've tried. I don't get it.
A lot of these sort of high stakes game shows, I mean, a lot of them are more like, you know, you're gonna die if you lose the game. I don't know if this one has that in it, but a lot of them just don't interest me either for some reason. I'm with you on that one.
I mean, I've sat through things like the original Yu-Gi-Oh series where they're constantly explaining the rules and blah de blah de blah de blah. But I don't know, with this one it was just like, shut up and get on with the game, and also please turn your dildo off because it's obviously distracting you.
Okay, I am going to suggest something here that might change the way that you watch this show. Okay, I don't know if I'm the only one who's had this take on it. I would argue that this show belongs in the horror genre because of the way the characters are acting. And it's like a psychological thriller. And I don't know if it was the director's intention, but I think the grotesque faces that end up being like close up challenge the whole sexualization of the female figure concept when you're watching the show, because yes, there have some of these characters are having very sexualized, like even masochistic interactions with gambling. But I honestly think it's a horror. At least the first 2 seasons, not Twin necessarily, but I started watching this as a horror, and it changed the way that I appreciated it.
Okay, that might be a different... It might be interesting to try it with a different lens, because
Yeah.
my interaction with it was through a recommendation from friends and watching it with them, and there was sort of that expectation to enjoy it because the people are being sexy and psychotic, I guess, but it may be twisting it to the, like you say, sort of the horror view on it might mean I might be able to get to stomach it a bit better. But
It's specifically the way. So yes, they're having these very like sexualized things, but specifically the way that intermixed with these like shots of like the women's bodies is also like the close up of the faces, and they're just like the detail is I would say beautifully grotesque in a horror-esque way. So I mean I'm a big fan of horror. myself.
I got any close-ups other than like stuff like this?
Yeah, I'm just like, so that one gets close, but it's not quite
Not
there.
quite there.
The other thing that I love about this series is that although this is a co-ed school, the locus of power on the student council is predominantly female.
So to throw my 2 cents in here, because I'm pretty sure I have seen the first 2 seasons. I actually agree with Yi. I think the whole eroticism of the gambling is heavily overplayed. It feels on par with, Death Note, where if I write this really convoluted thing, it makes the character look smart, and therefore it justifies their reactions to things. Another high-stakes game anime that I argue is closer to the whole horror element is Kaiju. We don't actually have it in the system, but again, it's like, they feel a sense of relief when they win, because it is a do or die situation. In Kakegurui, it's very much a case of if they lose, they fall into the lowest status of the school, and they have to sort of like work their way back up into the rankings. So
it's like Classroom of the Elite.
Yes, and that alone should explain to you why I'm not a huge fan of. I mean, I much prefer Kakegurui than Classroom of the Elite, because Classroom of the Elite is just fucking bogus, right? At least this has I say sensible, as far as I can say sensible. It has a system that you can follow, unlike, we're making... Sorry, I'm going to rant very briefly. We're making, the top 1% of all of Japan's wealthiest at this one school. And in order to do that, we need to do a Lord of the Flies situation. Because every billionaire in the world has apparently done Lord of the Flies.
Oh, and they just make up rules as they go too. Like
they do. They
don't tell. They tell them one thing, and then you find out that there's actually a twist, and they didn't tell you. And it's
So I'm on board with what you originally said.
I haven't seen this, so I can't really offer an opinion.
Go putting on like the horror lens, because I quite like horror myself, and maybe that'll make it work. I'm not holding out hope.
I feel like it's one of those things, like, I know there's some people that abide by like the 3-episode rule, and if they're not into it by the 3rd episode in anime, they just bin it. But I actually think it gets more interesting towards the in the 2nd season, because there's like this whole like power struggle thing that goes on within the school, and I actually find it quite interesting. But then the main character, Yumiko, she starts to become like, she's not 100% the focus anymore, so it starts to shift like to other characters as well, so it doesn't just become like her. You're not just following that one character around, like you are looking at, the perspectives of other characters in addition to like her story, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So I think it's worth a watch, like if you look at it like as horror, but I think it's...
Is the dub any good? I assume.
Oh yeah,
it's
the dub is really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
On Netflix, maybe I'll throw it on the background sometime.
I will say I enjoyed Kakegurui much more than Bastard, because I could finish Kakegurui.
Well,
I'm actually going to suggest I would like to talk about something a little risky, so to speak.
Risky.
Not that kind of risky. In terms of Rising of the Shield Hero, it's actually the perception
of how Rising of the Shield was received, if you guys were all right with that.
I'm good with
Hey,
it.
I can't. I'm fine with you guys talking about it, but I can't talk about it because I haven't seen it.
Okay. Well, don't worry about it too much. So in the plot synopsis is actually, Nasuth, you've not given one. Do you want to give one?
I'll see if I can. Yeah. So our hero is isekai to another world. He doesn't actually die for once. He, if I remember correctly, he opens a book and gets sucked into it.
Yep.
Yeah. And he is one of these 4 cardinal heroes who are supposed to save the world against these waves, these mystical waves that send enemies at them. And he is the weakest of them. He is the shield hero. That's all he has. He doesn't have any other weapons. All he has is a shield. In fact, he can't even pick up other weapons. He can't use weapons at all. They just kind of fall from his hand. And he is for some reason the people who summoned him look down on the shield hero. Like they were like, oh, we don't want the shield hero. Get rid of him. And so he's kind of shunned a little bit, even though they can't, execute him or banish him or anything. So he meets up very, very early on. He meets up with a woman who seemingly tries to help him out and get him set up with gear and everything. And then she robs him, steals everything. And it turns out she's the princess, and she accuses him of sexual assault. And so they still can't kill him or anything, but now he's a complete pariah to everyone. And so he's got to try to level up and figure out what to do and prepare for the waves anyway. Because he's just kind of like, screw you all, I'm gonna do it myself. And yeah, so anything else you want to get into, like rough Talia and stuff? Or do you want to stop there and talk about like the false sexual assault accusations?
I do want to talk about that. So basically, this brought up an entire Twitter shitstorm, right? Twitter went ham on this. What a surprise! And
Twitter's a cesspool.
There was a very heavy bias against the show and demand of cancelling of the show. Solely because of this false accusation. And I know myself, Nasuth, and Yi have watched it. I think it's safe to say that the 3 of us love the series, at least the first season.
I own it on Blu-ray, so yeah. I
There you
like
go.
to buy it.
Yeah. But it had a lot of bad press. And I'm interested in Lou's perspective as someone that has not seen it before. Maybe Yi talks about her take on it. How do you feel about the false accusation?
As a plot?
Yes, as a plot.
I mean, I think so this kind of like opens up a larger question about the didactic nature of media that we absorb and whether or not it shapes our opinion of the real world around us and our ability to separate fiction from, what's real. I think me recommending a bit of media from one adult to another, I inherently trust that adult to know, like, right, this is not a real thing. This is a bit of media that is, is a fiction. They're not going to see it as like, oh,
they're making commentaries on society.
Yeah, I'm making commentary on society. Well, sometimes some things are, right? And there are loads of films and things like that are making commentaries about society, but it's still a fiction, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about like Promising Young Woman, which is without going too much deeply into it, is, a tale about a woman taking revenge on the men who basically date rape women and things like that.
Oh yeah.
So, but it's a revenge fantasy, right? It's a it's a bit of media that you watch as a catharsis, but in no way would I say, okay, yeah, that means it's all right to like actually go out and, take your own
don't take the law
violent
into your own
retribution
hands.
against, like don't take the law into your own hands, like but this is a bit of media, right? And it's, you could go on to it like talking more about the story, but that spoils it. I highly recommend that film. Anyway, from speaking from one adult to another, I highly recommend that film. And so I understand, especially like in the wake of the Me Too movement, where people may feel that these kinds of narratives can be harmful to a cause or to public perception about the likelihood of somebody faking a sexual assault or rape. Which you might want to throw up a content warning on this, actually, when you get to this part. But basically, I don't think a single cartoon is going to make that much of an impact, if that makes any sense. Now, a whole body of work where there's a whole bunch, if there's somebody who sat there and like the only thing they watch is a whole bunch of stories where somebody fakes a sexual assault, that might shape their mindset. But this is just like one bit of media in the whole library of things that they might consume. So I don't think censoring something like this is productive, and energy should actually be spent on, the energy spent like sat on Twitter raging about this kind of stuff is, I think that's not the best way to focus it. I think focusing on real world issues is, if you want to make a change, I think that's more. But, the flip side of it, if this opened up a conversation, a respectful conversation where people can say, hey, is this or is this not harmful? And they discuss it, as opposed to being like, oh, take it down, censor it. Well, no, like, why would we censor things that are, if you censor something, if you censored everything, right, because it was a little bit offensive, you wouldn't have these issues being brought up to be discussed. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
The content of Bastard, deeply misogynistic, like, super lots of toxic masculinity. It goes, like, you would think, Drew and Yi, you both know me long enough. Like, I identify as a feminist. You'd be like, why the hell is she watching this? Like, this is really, gross. Like, this should offend her. No, I think it's funny because I see the meta narrative of it, and it opens up a conversation to like talk to people about these things. I wouldn't want to meet somebody like Dirk Schneider in the real world. Like, no, absolutely not. Like, I'd be like, no, go away. But I can laugh at this fictional character.
I think it's like, it's people not taking things at face value. I think what jumps to mind is how, jumping to Western animation briefly, is like for Rick and Morty, it's incredibly popular, but people who sort of idolize Rick do not get the joke.
Yeah.
It's meant to be awful. You're not meant to idolize him. He's a nasty.
I mean, he hates himself, Why would you want to be somebody who hates herself?
Yeah, and he's got multiple versions of himself to hate as well.
Even better. Well, it's also like, going off what you said, Yi, like Always Sunny in Philadelphia is a comedy show of people who are absolutely, like, you're not supposed to like them. They're all shitbags. But the things that they get up to that make you go like, oh my god, like I can't believe these people are doing this. That's where the comedy comes from, right? You're not supposed to like any of these characters. They're all assholes.
But you can sure as heck enjoy them getting their comeuppance.
Right, right.
And I think that's sometimes part of the issue, is that people do take these things at face value. So it's like, you know, this whole the false accusation. You know, you get people, I guess, white knighting is the term, or whatever, virtue signaling, whatever. Basically, going ban this sick filth because I don't like it. Not, and it's like, but it's not real. It's not.
It's not real, and you don't have to watch it.
Yeah, but also
no one is forcing you to consume this content.
But it's also a case of, it's almost saying, I mean, this is where you sort of edge into the, do I want to say this on the internet? But there we go.
If you have any concern, you may want to not.
It's more a case of, it's like, the sad thing is these sorts of false accusations do unfortunately happen.
It's rare, but they can.
It's
yeah.
rare, but
it's super fucking rare. Super fucking rare. And it actually takes away from when these things do happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It takes away from the
It gives people
a detriment,
yeah, it gives people a thing to point at and say, oh, but this one, you see how fake that one was, but that's one example out of God knows how many.
It's a completely different case, right?
Yeah.
Like you might have a case where it gets faked, you know, in a small percentage of like loads and loads and loads of cases, but it seems like people just like hold on to these small individual examples.
Confirmation. Well, it's not Is it confirmation bias?
I think it would fall into confirmation bias.
It's the one where you ignore the misses and remember the hits. That's whatever that one is.
Yeah. It's confirmation bias.
Yeah.
But it's basically cherry picking.
Yeah.
Small bits of data that support your hypothesis or whatever. You know, that kind of thing. It fits your narrative, so you pick it.
Yeah. So confirmation.
Yeah.
Bias. And that's and that's sort of like it's. What I'm trying to sort of say is that yes, these things do happen. It's awful. It shouldn't happen. It's awful when it does because of the knock-on effect in the real world. This is kind of the same thing. It's in the sense of it's one show out of many anime that has decided to have this as part of the narrative, but censoring it then makes people go, well, it's that erasure. I'm not saying that I support the fact that she made the false accusation or anything like that. Whatever the positive of this is.
The positive is that it sets up a good story.
It sets up a good story, and is it a vehicle that is going to be used often? No, because look at the backlash that it caused.
Mm-hmm. But censoring it would cause a different backlash, you know?
Yeah.
Then it would become forbidden fruit, and everybody would want to see it. Want to see the uncensored version. Well, not everyone, but more people that might not have watched it in the first place would now be intrigued because what's so bad about it that they're censoring? I have to see. I have to know.
But at no point have any of us come away going, "Yep, well, everybody who calls rape is, or says that they've been raped is lying," because that's not the way it works.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Is what the point I'm trying to make is that it just seems a bit odd, but like you say, it's the people cherry picking and using it as the real world using the few cases where it has happened, have used it as fuel.
The internet turns everything into, a black and white issue. I swear. There are no shades of gray anymore.
There's way more nuance to like everything than the the Twitter mob will,
Mm-hmm.
you know, come at, you know, and I think there's also this massive prevalence of like cancel culture and things like that, where they're like, I don't like it, get rid of it, wipe it off the face of existence. There are plenty of things I don't like out there, but I wouldn't, you know, things I wouldn't recommend for people to watch. You know, there's loads of stuff out there that, you know, I mean, freaking human. We live in it. We live in a universe where Human Centipede exists. Okay, so
I thought that was where you could go.
And not just Human Centipede. They said there are like 3 of them.
there's like 3. There might even be more. Like I just, you know, it's.
It was either in the late 90s or early 2000s, back when Spike TV was a thing. Stan Lee got Stripperella as a show. And more power to Stan Lee if he wants to make... Well, I mean, he's not here anymore, but you know what I mean. More power to him for making it in the first place. You know, whatever. I couldn't watch it. It was just so boring. I couldn't watch it. It wasn't even the sexualization. It was just there was no story. It was just boobs.
I feel like that's the crux of it. If it's just boobs, you might as well go watch porn.
Yeah.
Like, like if it's just, it's like, if there's no story, then what? Like the boobs are just.
It may be
like,
that the cartoon adaptation was terrible, and the comic book is actually really good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not. I mean, there are a lot of like corny adaptations in the 90s of various, and not even adaptations, but just like in the same vein as like in the same, not vein, but contemporary productions, you know, like Xeno Warrior Princess and Cleopatra 2525 and like
why'd you have to remind me of that? No.
Where it's just like, oh, it's girl power, feminism, air quotes. But like their tits are out and they're like, oh yeah, I'm female and I'm kicking ass in my heels and I'm expressing my sexuality. Not to say that that particular brand of feminism is not femininity is not valid. It's just that seemed to be the whole like brand. Like this is what kick-ass, you know, female boss bitch looked like. You know, it's just this whole one type of femininity that kind of gets zoned into. That I just when
The
there's
sex
multiple,
sells.
sex sells, but there's also like female expression is so wide and vast and differs even like. You know, within the same culture, not you know,
not to mention between cultures.
Right? So it's just, you know, what is female expression? What is female sexuality? Like, there's so many answers to that question.
It's another one of those cases where there are tons of shades of gray, and people choose to ignore them all and stick to black and white.
Yeah.
Well, talking about shades of grey.
Oh no!
No.
Oh no!
No! I'm not talking about that. Oh my God. Anyway, I wanna go off script. There's this series I watched recently. It's called A Sister's All You Need.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
Right.
Okay. All right. Go for it.
Wait, Lou, have you tried to watch this?
No, I remember you describing it to me.
Oh, okay, fair enough. You were okay, fine. I wanna get genuine reactions because I'm pretty sure it's gonna be the same across the board. I'm just a weird outlier, regardless, right?
I'm not gonna lie, I know nothing about it, and the title is already making my eyebrow.
Oh, just you wait. Just you wait. Just you wait.
Okay, synopsis time. Right. So. The plot.
You might want to do a skip here as well.
No.
Wait, is this taking the piss out of Xeno's inability to do a synopsis?
No, I think she just wants to skip this entire section. Anyway, right, the synopsis time, right? The plot is about 3 light novel writers and their weird personalities, right? And the series starts with a character who's asleep gets woken up by their little sister, much in the same vein as what happens in Data Live, right? But it gets very weird within the first minute, where when the brother character goes to have breakfast, he gets a bit of the breakfast on his cheek. And
you're not even talking about where the food comes from. My God.
I can't remember where the food comes from. Oh, no, I'm not. No.
All right.
See, it's that bad.
No. Right, no, because I know what he's going to do. He's going to explain it badly, right? You got to focus on that one part and just skip the point of it, right? Right. Let's just focus on the
fine.
Right. So he's got some food on his cheek. She pulls some underwear from another dimension, wipes his cheek,
freshly
and then
used somehow.
Oh, for the love of God, shut up!
Hey, you gotta get the details right, man.
No, I haven't even got to the details. Shut up! This is what it's like. Anyway, so she wipes his cheek, and then he proceeds to eat the underwear. All of a sudden, cut to a man wearing a business suit, right? He's wearing a shirt, he's wearing... That's him on the left,
yeah.
Right? It's these two characters. The guy on the left has a pile of papers, slams it on a table, and literally says, "What the fuck is this shit?" Right? It turns out it's a depiction of the light novel he is reading from the author depicted
which is on the right.
Yeah. And effectively, this guy has a weird thing for little sisters. He has a weird complex for little sisters, right? But he doesn't have a little sister, right? So he's weirdly fixated on it, and his editor is constantly fighting him against his weird personality. All the light novel writers have weird quirks, and the best-selling light novel writer, who is 17, right? There she is. She's the
white-haired
one.
Yeah.
She's the best-selling author. She she's put up in hotels to do her work so she doesn't have distractions. And, she has this weird obsession with the protagonist I was just talking about, right? In all honesty, I find it very refreshing. It is funny. I cannot think of another series that is equivalent to this, especially focusing around the idea of content creators, so authors, artists, vloggers, photographers, anyone that has like an artistic expression in the work they do. I cannot think of another show that is similar to this, right? There may be some out there. Maybe oh crap, what was the? I can't. There was one about manga years and years ago. I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, I really enjoyed this because of the weird zaniness that these creatives have, and the poor editors that have to mitigate the damage, right? I really, really enjoy it. Now, I would like to hear from my description, Nasuth Outbursts, what Lou and Yee think of what I just described. Shut up, you.
No, I give it shit, but it sounds. I'll wait for you guys to. Yeah.
The setup makes me cringe real hard.
I'll be honest, I'm intrigued to give it a go because Xeno and I do have similar tastes. The first bit of it, where it's the novel, it's just like you say, cringeworthy.
Yep.
But I think
cringe.
I think the fact that he slams the papers down and is like, "What the fuck is this?" Takes
that's the bit that saved it.
Yeah.
It's played for laughs. It doesn't sound like my kind of humor, and even though I tried to make it sound as bad as possible.
You're a dick.
I think it really is just played. It is played for laughs, and so that makes it all right. I'm fine with that. I don't think it would be my humor. That's. Yeah.
I'd be intrigued to give it a watch at some point.
Okay. Lou, do you want to elaborate at all? You can say no if you don't want to. Do you want to elaborate at all as to what you weren't impressed by in the gross part or whatever?
I think it's the weird obsession with having a little sister.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't elaborate without it getting a bit
Racy.
Not even racy, but
I think everyone has a weird obsession, right? I'm quite forward with the fact that I'm just obsessed with anything power suits. The Guyver, Tekkaman Blade, High School Double D, right? I think everyone has them. Like YouTube. I mean, Yi can attest to how for a long time I was obsessed with World of Warcraft. Give her an opportunity. You go,
Oh no. I'm out of here.
So I think people can have weird obsessions. Hell, I know some people that have some really God, I wish you never told me that obsessions, right? I get where you're coming from, but at the same time, I can appreciate that in this instance, art can intimidate life. Intimidate? Fuck. Imitate. Sorry.
This art is intimidating my life.
Sorry. But yeah.
I would argue that art can intimidate life. I mean, I stood in front of, oh god, is it Rodan? Rodan's Gates of Hell, and they are fucking huge and intimidating.
Yep.
And at the same time, I love it. I also love the fact that they used it in one of the Full Metal Alchemist manga, if not both, for when they're in the
oh yeah, the other the space between or whatever.
Yeah, and it's the big door. I'm just like, I know that piece. It's also used in Shaman King. I'm just like, I've seen that. There's several of them. Anyway, sorry, derailed that one completely because hey, arty stuff, I do that.
You're fine.
I think, from my perspective, I'm intrigued to see what it's like.
I'd give it the 3-episode try.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for letting your freak flag fly, but you also need to know when it's appropriate to let it fly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also there's like a power dynamic there.
Yeah. I was thinking about that too. Older brother, younger sister.
Yeah. It's edging into that. It depends on how this is played.
And the reverse wouldn't be any better. Older sister, younger brother wouldn't be any better.
No, it wouldn't be any better. It's like it's the reasons why I'm cringing at this are the same reasons why I cringe at the one we weren't going to mention.
Fair. We will continue not to mention that.
Yes, we will continue not to mention that one.
Go on.
No, I've forgotten what we're not going to mention, which is good because now I can't mention it. So there you go.
Cool. There is one last show I would like to talk about. Actually kind of doing a 180 on pretty much everything we've spoken about thus far. It's not in that list.
It's not on this list. Wow, you monster.
Not on the list. Dun dun dun.
We didn't even get to talk about Trace. Well,
I mean,
I can see on like the buttons. There's a couple in there that I'm just like that. I've like got points.
Yep.
Okay, so how's about I'm still happy to keep on talking about. Oh, there it is. Talking about other
there it is.
What you call it, shows and things. This is the last one I wanted to specifically talk about. But if you want to do highlights afterwards, we can totally do that, or honourable mentions or so on. But the one I wanted to talk about, which again got a lot of backlash, is actually Goblin Slayer. So this is not looking at content in a sexual way, but more of a graphic, gory way. So I'm sure there are many, many other anime out there that are worse than Goblin Slayer, and if Mappa live up to the Chainsaw Man manga, I'm pretty sure Chainsaw Man will be up there.
Berserk is up there.
Yeah. So
and Parasite, I would argue.
So I can't remember who here has seen Goblin Slayer.
I have not.
I have,
I've
obviously.
seen the first few episodes of it, so I'm assuming.
You've seen some of the most shocking stuff, then, yeah.
Yes.
I've seen what happens in the first couple of episodes and gone, oh, okay.
Right. So, what's it called? Nasuth, did you say you've seen this?
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool.
And the abridged version, which is amazing.
Oh, the abridged version is amazing. Anyway.
Still waiting for another episode.
Anyway. So, the big thing with Goblin Slayer is that it's brutal. It is grimdark. It is...
They don't pull any punches.
No. What's it called? Acts of violence abound,
Including the R word that we talked about earlier, but it's goblins doing it.
Yep. And
don't in the manga, don't they like tie the goblins? They like tie naked women to their shields or something. Is that not a thing in the manga? I heard that.
I love how you just go like straight for the deep end. No.
Oh yeah.
We won't. Like anyway, the whole point is that the world is a very dangerous place, and instead of having crazy superpowers from being isekai'd into another world or magic that can explode entire castles. This setting is very much a case of if you misstep once, you're going to die in a very brutal way. And I would like to hear from both of you, not Nasuth.
Fine.
What your take on this level of gruesomeness,
brutality
in anime? Yeah, brutality. There you go. Good word. How do you feel about this level of brutality in anime?
Yee, do you want to go first?
Are we talking about brutality in general, or more towards the sexual side of things?
More in general, like we've like I don't think anyone's particularly comfortable with the sexual side of things.
Yeah.
It's more in general.
You kind of more see the aftermath of that than the actual act. So you're seeing the brutality afterwards, right? Yeah, but there's other brutal stuff too, like when Goblin Slayer gets just about crushed to death and manages to come back from it somehow, pure strength of will.
He believes he can. My view on it is, I view anime in general as a medium, not a genre. It's it's got its own genres. It's going to have stuff that isn't happy and joyous. Look at all the media that's around us in general. Like live action. It's not all happy times. Some of the biggest. For example, Squid Game was one of the the biggest show on Netflix. And I don't know if it's been topped yet or whatever. I don't follow those things, but it was huge, absolutely massive, and that is not a happy show. That is brutal at times.
Well, didn't even Endgame kind of have a sad sort of bittersweet ending? Not brutal, but yeah.
But you using like the example of Squid Game, people lapped that show up, and it has people you know, it all the way through it sets you up to care about people, and it doesn't pull its punches with what happens. That's the same with anime. You know, it's just, you know, with Goblin Slayer, it's the same thing that happened. It's the same type of grim and grittiness. It's just the difference is it's animated.
Well, and in certain places of the world, that sort of thing is like, you know, that kind of brutality does exist in our world.
Yeah.
It really does. You know, we are a horrible race, and we can do horrible things to each other. Just look at, well, you can look at current events in certain places, but also just look at the history books. You know? And I think this is a bit of a difference between the different cultures. Is in the West, animation it has a tendency to be viewed as kid stuff. You know, if it's more, you know, family orientated or adult, it's stuff like Family Guy or American Dad and that sort of thing.
But even that's sort of.
But even those shows, like they have. I mean, one, like, was it the Quagmire character?
Yeah.
Who is you know a sexual predator and is a main character and is played for jokes. So it's just like, you know, the line, I think, like it becomes this bigger question, I think, about, you know, is animated media inherently for children? And I think, I mean, the answer is a very hard no for me. You know, yes, there are things that are animated that are for kids, you know, but I mean, most of the things that we've discussed today, I would never recommend to anyone under the age of 18, even though it's not strictly pornographic material. You know, you need to have a certain sense of maturity to be able to watch this stuff, and not be harmed by it, as it were. You know,
Bob's Burgers, fine for kids. Archer, not so much.
Exactly.
And I think it's that mentality. It's what I'm trying to say is that the mentality in the West with a lot of people is that animation is Disney, and therefore it's all animation
or Looney Tunes or whatever. Yeah,
and it really, you know, my background, I did a degree in animation. You know, I think it really is. It doesn't give the medium the respect it deserves. But whereas in Japan, it's viewed as a medium instead of, like I say, it's viewed as a medium instead of a genre. There are different genres within anime. It's just a different way of filmmaking. You have the kiddie stuff. You have the Doraemon. You have the Pokemon. You know,
Spirited Away.
You also have the porn to go to the other extreme. You know, and so you're going to have stuff that is not for children, that is grim and gritty, and I don't think that's a problem.
I think the problem is that parents aren't vetting media in general for their children. They're just like, oh, let's just put something on. Let's just put Netflix on.
The babysitter.
Let's just put
it's the
YouTube
babysitter.
on. Yeah, it's the babysitter. And they're like, oh yeah, this animated thing. And you're like, hang on a minute. You shouldn't be letting your kid just like have free reign of the Netflix. There are parental controls on all of these things, by the way. It's just, you know, the parent needs to actually sit down, learn them, set them up so that their kid has their own account and watches the child safe content.
Even like what, 4 or 5 years ago on YouTube, there was a problem where kids were seeing these Spider-Man and Elsa, you know, essentially pornographic. Yeah.
Elsa Gate.
Yeah. And parents just didn't realize, you know.
Just a little story. Like last Christmas, I ended up buying my cousin, who was 10 at the time, some anime merch. You know, she's massively gotten into anime and things, and she has a Crunchyroll account and stuff. And I asked, like, you know, oh, so what is she watching and things? And the thing that utterly staggered me was Tokyo Ghoul and Attack on Titan. Right?
No.
Wasn't she also
seriously.
watching High School Double D, or was that somebody else? I might be thinking of somebody else.
No. So that was my uncle asked, right? You know, oh, like what's with this like, you know, heavily, you know, adult themed shows. It was High School something, you know, and he described it loosely as, oh, High School Double D, and it's just like, yeah, like why is that on Netflix and things like. Well, you shouldn't be showing it to your 10-year-old for a start. I'm pretty sure the BBFC rating for High School Double D is like 15 or 18. It's not young, right?
No,
Yeah.
it's, if I remember correctly, yes, it's a minimum of 15. I think it might creep up to 18. I could check, but it's downstairs in the garage, and I can't bother to go and dig through the box.
People can find it themselves.
So, yeah, but like no, I completely get. So I get what you're saying entirely. How people will just babysit it, like, oh yeah, media, blah 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 blah. I do want to jump in because we did talk about Family Guy episode briefly, and I do want to say, like, yes, just in case of like any back comments and things. A lot of the sexual predator stuff with Quagmire, I feel, comes later on in the series, in the show, because Seth MacFarlane wants to kill Family Guy. He doesn't want to be involved with it anymore.
Yep.
He's tried to derail Family Guy so many times, and just like The Simpsons, they can't kill it. So no matter what really horrific, offensive thing that they put in the show. But I want to, before we go to Lou's take on gore and stuff, I just wanted to check with you. So, would you say that you are any more selective with anime that has gore in it? Or do you feel that you'll give them as much of an equal opportunity to impress upon you as something like Konosuba or JoJo?
I would give them a go. You know, it doesn't... It depends. I mean, I pick what I watch mainly on what mood I'm in, and a lot of the time I just want to turn my brain off and watch something fuzzy. So that is what goes into my decision making a lot of the time. But I like horror series. I like I've not. Again, this is more me basing me on my manga choices. I like stuff like Parasite. I like Junji Ito stuff.
Oh yeah. He's got a new show coming out on Netflix, or is it already out? I can't remember.
I don't think it is.
I mean, I've not watched enough of his stuff. Then that I would like. I want to watch more of it because it looks creepy, and I like stuff that's creepy.
The manga are incredible too. I
sort of realised I would be more interested. Was it last year or the British Museum did a manga exhibition within the last few years. COVID makes everything blur into one thing, and it was a sort of how manga started, this, that, and the other, but it covered so many different genres. And there was some Junji Ito stuff there. And I'm like, this is interesting. You know, I was aware of it and things, and I've read a couple of short stories and whatever. Through different things. I'm like, I want to read more of this. So, if it looks interesting and it's stuff that I like, I will give it a go. If it's gory, it very much depends on the gore. I don't mind gore too much. Stuff I struggle with is stuff like people vomiting and things like that. So, but funnily enough, I can deal with that more with animation. Real life, not so much. I work in a freaking hospital. I am gonna struggle with that one. Yay, fun time. Or I will be. So in some ways, I might be more likely to give them a go than I will with live action stuff, because the other thing, I don't particularly like jump scares when it comes to horror films, and a lot of horror films I think it's calming down a bit at the moment. Was, you know, a lot of it was based on jump scares for a long time. I'm just like, I don't want to be tense from the entire
earn
thing.
the jump scare.
The jump scare is like the most biggest cop out. Like I swear they just so overused, and I'm just like, come on.
You've got to build up to it properly if you're gonna do it. You can't just throw it out there.
But even then, it's like from my perspective, it's like, right, I'm tense and I'm watching something. I'm trying to relax. Like watching horror film. Shush. So yeah, I can be a little bit cautious with gore and stuff if it's live action, but animation, I'm just like, yeah, go for it, splatter the blood everywhere.
Bring on that elfin lead, eh?
Oof.
Well,
right.
You know, I mean, talking about, I mean, yes, I love Elfin Lead. One, because it's a good show, and two, I love the fact that the first episode, it's the most unsexual use of, at the point I first saw it was the most unsexual use of nudity I'd ever come across. And I'm just like, this is amazing. There's a girl walking around butt naked, tearing people apart with invisible arms. This is awesome.
Guess why we have no clips of that? Anyway. Lou, do you want to add anything to your choices in stuff that has gore?
I mean, I kind of agree with Yee. In that if it's animated, I can deal with animated gore a little bit more than like CG gore or live action gore. That said, The Thing is like one of my favorite horror movies of all time, and that is just a twisted shit show of visual horror.
So Cronenbergian,
you know, and it still holds up today, like with the practical effects. But I digress. Like I think
we're talking John Carpenter's The Thing,
yes,
not
the real
original
one,
and not the
the
real one.
Brilliant film.
Brilliant film. So good. It's like I have to be in the right mood for it. I have to like gear myself up for it. Like, yeah, I'm gonna spend like, you know, I'm gonna binge watch maybe 4 or 5 episodes of this series, and I know it's gonna be super gory, but then I need to follow it up with maybe something light and fluffy on the other side of it to bring me out of it. I kind of try and do that as well, like even with like the depressing animes, because there's so many that just make you feel like like Violet Evergarden for one.
Cyberpunk,
super violent. Yeah, super violent. Also super fucking depressing. Another one that several years back was I binge watched Hellgirl. I love that show. It's beautiful. Do not binge watch that show. Like it made me feel so depressed. Like I just. Like, it's just, I mean, the thing is like, you learn more and more about Hellgirl as the series goes on, and her story is really tragic. And that's the part that I was just like, fuck, shit, I shouldn't have binge watched this show. I thought it was just like episodic, like revenge killing of the day, like type show. No, it's more than that. You know, like, so I'm not afraid of horror. I'm not afraid of violence. I do think, however, though, that at least from a Western perspective, I can't speak about violence within Japanese culture or anything like that, because I have no insight, no knowledge on that. I can't.
That's fair.
You know, pick that apart. But from a Western perspective, I do think it is a shame that violence is seen as more acceptable in terms of censorship than sex, like consensual sex in, you know, in a show. Not like, you know, I mean, I guess there's more graphic sex scenes than others, but you get what I mean? Like, it's...
Yes, yeah.
I think it's a shame that a film
Blowing up worlds is okay than a love scene.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Cool. I think we've had a good run. I don't know if you guys want any honourable mentions, or if you want to like do another show, like to talk about another or if we want to wrap up.
Well, I did mention Trace.
If I comment.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Like I say, well, I did manage to get in Elfin Lead. The other one that's I've got a little thumbnail of staring at me is Dragon Pilot, and
that one's so weird.
That was so weird. I got halfway through the first episode and I was like, "Excuse me, how do they get out of the dragon?"
They get vomited
and covered in goo.
But it's like, I mean, the first episode is the worst for it. It tones it down afterwards. But the fact that it's just like, why am I watching vor porn right now?
Why do they have to be in the doggy position while they're piloting?
Yeah.
I hadn't considered that. Thanks.
It's just.
Yeah, just what the hell was going on with that? Like I say, thankfully it calms that down.
Yeah.
Later on, because it's a very, I really enjoyed it as a series.
Mm-hmm. It actually is an interesting story. Yeah.
Part of me wonders if you've seen Darling in the Franxx, but I think that's a kind of worms we'll avoid.
I mean, there's food wars.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot.
I mean, at least it's equal. You know, it's not just the women whose clothes disappear.
Oh yeah, everybody's clothes just fly off, and they're like, "Oh God, it's so delicious. Let me describe this food that I've not ever had before, or it's so simple, and the way that it was cooked is just, oh my God."
Sublime.
It made me come, basically.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And it, but
foodgasm. It's called a
so-
foodgasm.
yeah, foodgasm. You know, it's a visual representation of a foodgasm. I think I've only ever had one foodgasm experience before in my life, and it was at a vegan Japanese restaurant, and they made this. On the menu they had fried white miso onigiri, and it was the most it's in Portland. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it's so good. It was so good. It was so good. I wanna try and learn how to make this. I've never had something so delicious in my life, and it was so simple. So yes,
there we go.
I had my food. I had my first Food Wars foodgasm experience in a vegan Japanese restaurant in Portland. So there you go.
I'd completely forgotten that scene.
Yep. There you go.
The honey squid.
Right. I think on that note.
On that bombshell.
On that note, what, you guys aren't gonna go? What's your first foodgasm experience? Come on.
Gosh, I don't really remember.
Oh.
It's been too long, you know?
Somewhere in Rome?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Fucking food in Italy is just to die for. And I was there for 2 weeks, so, you know.
You got all worked out.
Clearly. You know. Anyway, right, let us move on. So we've done our main topic. Let's move on to the supporter questions. Right. So Zoogle asks, before I read out the supporter questions, I just want to thank you all for watching or listening this far of our podcast. Please hit that thumbs up button and leave a comment if there's anything you'd like to say. We read them all. Also, feel free to subscribe. That's a good one too.
Yes.
Right.
Tell your friends.
Zrugel also asks, what is the oldest anime that you think still holds up?
Moments.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking.
It's a really good show.
It's good, and it's moody, and it's for kids, but it's kind of spooky, and it's kind of it's cute. Moomin's a little shit, but you know, it's just cute. And when I'm feeling like crap and I've got a cold, I will just curl up on the couch and I will go find Moomins on YouTube, because at least in the UK it's free, and I will just watch Moomins until I fall asleep.
I think it's actually on Tubi. I'm not sure. No, that was something else. I don't.
But I say this, it came out in the 70s. I was born in 1988. So this was never part of this show was never part of my childhood. So I'm accessing this as
but I mean, if it's an old anime, it's not. It doesn't say the oldest anime you saw as a child. It's the oldest anime period. So yeah, it works.
Yee?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking. I thought the anime of it was actually the early 90s. But I don't know.
Maybe it was the 90s, but the cartoon I think at least came out in the 70s. Hold on, let me double check.
Do you mean the cartoon, like the one that's like it's like little like material cut out or something? Or because there's the German one that's little puppets.
Yeah, there's been so many iterations of the Moomins.
Sorry, I'm being pedantic. I apologize.
You're gonna have to give me a minute because I'm gonna have to look this up now.
Well, there was actually a 1969 series.
Wow.
Which was also Japanese.
Yeah.
We looked it up once. Wasn't the first anime like in 1930 something, 1920?
I thought it was 50 something.
Maybe.
Yeah, 1969 to 1970 Japanese anime TV series Moomin.
This is where I'm sitting there because I remember the one I thought I remember was the 90s one, but I suspect I've watched that one as well without realising because it was stuck on CBBC. Or Children's BBC, as it was known as at that point, because I'm old. Ish. Right, oldest anime that I still think holds up. I don't know. My initial reaction was Vision of Escaflowne because I love that show. It's you know, it's isekai before isekai, even though there was a lot of that sort of stuff around though. It's got mecha and it's got catgirls.
And magic and romance
and a psychotic albino.
And a psychotic albino, yes.
I mean, that was a trope in 90s anime, come on.
Yeah.
And it was a mecha that turned into a dragon. And the initial European, Canadian, American release had the opening with techno beats. Which, yeah.
Nasuth?
I'm sure I've seen some animes from the 70s, but I don't really remember any of them. So I also don't remember which came first, Nadia of the Blue Water or Akira, but one of those two. If both of those. I'm greedy, I'll check two.
No. I'm gonna say Gunbuster. So it turns out that actually came out the same year as Akira. But Gunbuster is just so well done, and it's like, fuck.
So weird.
It is weird, but it's so good how
it is like, honestly,
you know, talking about like female empowerment, like fucking Gunbuster, man.
Oh yeah.
I remember it being put on at Anime Society years and years ago, but I remember it also people dicking about and not watching, making it difficult to watch. So that's probably what I've forgotten about. That is a show I'd actually like to watch at some point.
Just be aware that the first episode is nothing like the rest of the series. Nothing like it.
It is the definition of boy that escalated quickly. I will also say that it's getting a remaster and a dub.
Yes, it is.
So, right. So moving on. I can't read. The
sorry.
Name. Right. Nasuth Season 2 coming 2023 asks, we've now seen your guilty pleasures when it comes to normal anime, but can you think of a fucking Christ.
No.
But can you think of a hentai that has a story that's so good without trying to... No, we're innocent people, and we're skipping this question. Thank you, Nasuth.
Come on, it's clear. The answers are at Tsukidoji. Come on.
Shut up! No!
I was about to shout that. Anything that comes up with the line of "my sex magic will take us to the moon" is amazing.
I
Next
have not
question.
watched enough hentai to answer that question.
That is clearly the answer. We're all so innocent. We don't watch any, and Nasuth is a giant perv. Anyway, so and this is still trying to be safe for YouTube, Nasuth.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Nasuth season 2, whatever. I don't care anymore. Also asks, what is common between light from Death Note and a lift? They're both elevators. Oh my god.
But I'm.
Stupid pun shit. Right, okay, moving on. A royalist only for Liz. Considering the amount of time it would take, would you ever make the attempt to catch up with One Piece?
Nope.
No.
No, not a chance.
No.
Also, I read that. I initially read that as a royalist only for Laws, and now that makes me wonder why Laws is actually absent today.
Clearly.
Oh.
I can't
Anyway.
quite scratch my chin. It's not.
It was my fault because of my birthday again.
I cannot do 1,000 episodes of One Piece.
I don't want to do Naruto either.
Doing it, and I'm just. He watches it with his brother. I'm just like, do you have a life?
Oh my
Bless him. Yeah, I've never even started One Piece. I don't plan to start now. Apart from
It would be like the time I binge watched Buffy.
Oh God. Yeah, but at least
I was doing
Buffy
that
was
for my
actually
dissertation.
interesting up until like
Buffy
the last
got me
couple of
through my
seasons.
dissertation.
Yeah.
Well, Buffy and Angel, because I was cycling between when it hit season 4 and Angel kicked off. I started cycling between the episodes, but it's since I've been back home.
Also, Buffy isn't 50% recap of the last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Right. Whatever the name was, also
A royalist only for
asks-
Liz. Come on.
There you go. Royalist only for Loz also
Loz.
asks, a famous Twitter content creator known as, I think that's supposed to be Bail Buddy,
Yeah.
recently created the most uncanny adventure team. This features Boris the Manly Elf, Diax the Goblin.
No, Dixa.
Cleric-
Dixa.
Dixa, the Goblin Cleric of Lawfulness and Honesty. The Magical Orc Girl.
Wagdoka?
Wagdoka? Wagdoka?
Is that like Wag from like the the orcs in 40K?
Sure.
Yeah.
Wagdoka Ragnar,
Wag. Yeah.
the clean-shaven oak.
I'm getting more and more
Magical
concerned.
Orc girl
What?
Wagdoka, and then it's Ragnar, the clean-shaven dwarf, and big halfling who's 8 feet tall.
Yes.
I'm getting
What
more and more
animes-
concerned to where this question
Where's-
is going. What anime stereotypes could you subvert to add to this unlikely band of misfits?
Magical himbos.
Yes.
But wouldn't magical orc girl Wagdoka fall into that? Because
I mean, yeah, okay, maybe.
Built.
But right, so hear me out. My new favorite genre is magical himbos. And this is basically a combination of magical girls and himbos.
Wasn't there an anime a few years ago that was that the girls turned into magical himbos?
That.
No, but there
it
was
guys that
a
turned
there
into
was
women,
a scene
wasn't it? I don't remember.
there was a scene in Food Wars where they were magical girls.
I mean, aren't we talking about JoJo?
I mean,
Well, yeah,
yes.
there's that.
And
I don't know. I feel like a mech. There you go. Just throw a mech in there.
there is actually apparently a gacha game in which you can end up pulling a magical girl skin on Dio.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
dear God.
I need to see that.
I'll show it to you
Yeah.
afterwards.
What about like a protagonist from one of those battle royale games that's way too smart for his own, like super smart, but with like the anime tells you they're super smart, but they're not actually super smart. One of those.
Well, like battle after 5 seconds of meeting.
Yeah, one of those, but they're actually really dumb, just super lucky, so they always get it right anyway.
Sakazuma.
Yeah, but they think they're smart.
Sakazuma.
Kazuma, yeah.
Okay, there you go. Right, so moving on to...
Did he give one? Did you give one, Yi? Have I completely forgotten you giving
No,
one?
I didn't get one.
Do you want to
Scroll
get?
up because I can't see now because I can't see what the choices are. Luxodon the Thief. So Elephant Man Thief.
Oh my god!
There you go.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
How do I come up with this? Because my actual D&D character is a Luxodon barbarian, but his dex is through the roof, and we're like,
Oh
how
my
has he got
God.
more sneak than the rogue?
Lol. Right, moving on to the comments from last week. We go for the news first. In relation, oh god, jeez, in relation to the Sailor Moon burger, Zrugal says I'd eat that. Nick Evans also says, in the vein of expensive alcohol, who remembers the Fallout Nuka rum? That stuff was worse because all they did was put a normal rum bottle inside a plastic form of a Nuka bottle, meaning you weren't even paying for an interesting bottle. Oh,
Ouch.
gee, that's awful.
I also remember when Fallout.
What is it with Fallout and dropping the ball?
Yes, I was just gonna say the Fallout 76 merch bags that were just fucking awful, like made of cheese.
Seems like they
ones,
were ready for the backlash fallout of their dumb decisions.
They were going to make canvas bags, weren't they? But then they went with this horrible plastic.
Plasticky material that looked like shit.
Right. So, now on to last week's Kanpai Cast comments. Zrugal says, in relation to MS Igloo, that's Mobile Suit Gundam, wow, I think Loz just sold me on a Gundam show. That sounds awesome. I wish Loz was here because I can't remember what the hell was said.
It's the one that looks awful, but is actually interesting. The CG one.
Oh, yeah. I'm with you. Right. In relation to Thaylien's name from last week's supporter question, which I can't remember what the heck that was, a surprise tool to help us... Oh, that was the name.
Yeah.
Is a Mickey Mouse reference... Sorry, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse reference, I believe.
I didn't actually look that up. I should have looked that up. That's my bad.
Right. And then Strombus Void Shell says, I enjoyed hearing about hidden gems. Yeah,
Always a pleasure.
We did have some hidden gems. And then, potentially the best part of the show itself, it's time to move on to the memes for this week. You can find more memes on twitter.com/kanpai_cast. We release 3 a day, all from Reddit, various different subreddits. Naz has shown me another one. And yeah, it's time to get on with the funnies.
Right. Tell me I'm wrong.
Okay, you're not wrong, but I mean the problem is the context is these two aren't gonna get that.
That's true. Have you not? Oh, you need to watch Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Oh,
yet.
so good.
This is Cyberpunk Edge. There you go.
But I can see where you're going with the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How it feels having an eyelash stuck in your eye.
Oh
I
my
mean,
god.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh
Oh my god.
Oh.
Yeah. That is. Wait for final season
Part 9.
Final version 2. Yeah.
Promised Neverland Season 1. Promised Neverland Season 2. Dumpster fire.
Yep. That is very true.
I've only seen season 1.
Well,
Good. Stick with that. Keep
there.
it that way. Yeah.
The scene when I'm watching by myself. The scene when my mom walks in.
Yep.
Good old Ninja Scroll. We should have had that on the list.
I haven't seen it.
Oh,
Why didn't you put it on the list? You could have put it on the list, Nasuth.
I should have. And finally, for me, let's eat Mother. Or let's eat Mother. Let's eat Mother.
Oh dear God.
Oh.
Oh dear God.
If you haven't seen Attack on Titan Season 4 Part 2, you won't understand this. But yeah.
I've not. I am noticing. I'm taking in the grammar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. My first meme. Everywhere I go, I see her face. Now, this is another Cyberpunk Edge Runner reference.
There's so many memes about her.
But seriously, she is all over Twitter. The character's name is Rebecca. When you watch Cyberpunk Edge Runner, and everyone should, you'll know who the fuck we're talking about. Movie number 2. Why are you laughing? Nothing.
Oh God.
Thoru.
Oh God.
I get that reference.
Yep. My third meme. You got holding hands. You're pregnant.
Oh.
In
Not holding hands. How
So
lewd.
lewd. Yeah.
No, it's in. First off, it's the Dark Souls type font, and there is just so, I don't know what it is. There are so many shows out there, so many animes out there where they do like, if you kiss, you get pregnant and things like this. So just like, okay, I get it for laughs, but why is the same joke told so many times? Anyway,
Probably a cultural thing.
yep.
And you know what they say.
I don't know what it was.
Fingering leads to.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
If you get in a hot tub where somebody's, don't sit on any dirty toilet seats, all that stuff.
If you lace fingers, it's naughty.
okay, my fourth meme, when she's trying to smash on the first date, at least buy me dinner first. Alright. My fifth one, my dress up darling anime season 2 announced, and the world is is officially a better place. Renegirl 3 season 3, your favorite rom com, it's like a soul for a soul.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh my god, my dress up darling
Yeah.
is so good. It is so goddamn good.
Even I enjoyed it, and I don't usually go in for that type of show.
He hates slice of life, right? And he enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then last but not least.
What?
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
Oh, that's my avatar doing that is perfect. Come on, come back, damn it! Oh, I'm gone forever.
Yep. Right. So that
like
is
Naruto running down.
Yeah,
probably is. Right. So that is it for this week's episode. Next week we have the summer 2022 full season review. Even though so many shows have been put on hiatus or were delayed, and God knows how that episode is going to plan out. But that's it for this week. Lou, Yi, thank you so much for being part of this episode.
Oh, it's been a
Yi,
pleasure.
especially because I feel vindicated with Sisters All You Need. And yeah, so just want to say thank you all for watching / listening. It is now time to bottoms up and Kanpai!
Bye.
Yay!